Welcome to Flekar and Inspire, the place where ordinary moments unfold into extraordinary stories. Every day, we bring you tales that move the heart, challenge the mind, and awaken the spirit. Now, settle in and listen closely because this story might just change the way you look at kindness forever. It was just another rainy Tuesday morning in New York City. The sidewalks shimmered with puddles, umbrellas bobbed through the streets, and the familiar sound of car horns filled the air. Inside a quiet corner coffee shop in Brooklyn, the warmth of espresso and fresh pastries offered comfort to a crowd trying to escape the cold drizzle. Emma had worked the early shift at the animal shelter just a few blocks away. Her sneakers were soaked, her hands smelled faintly of puppy shampoo, and her wallet felt unusually light. She was tired, but she needed coffee badly. Her next shift at the bookstore started in less than an hour, and caffeine was non-negotiable. As she stood in line, scrolling through messages from her landlord and other overdue rent notices, she barely noticed the man in front of her. He was older, probably in his late 60s, wearing a worn-out coat and scuffed shoes. His hands trembled slightly as he held a few crumpled bills and coins. "One small black coffee, please," the man said, his voice quiet but clear. The barista rang it up. "That'll be $3.50. He glanced down at his palm. His face fell. "Yeah, broken bar, I only have $2.75. "I'm sorry." Before the barista could speak, Emma stepped forward. "I've got it," she said, reaching into her bag and pulling out the last $5 bill she had. "Just put it on mine." The man looked up in surprise. "Miss, that's very kind, but no need," Emma interrupted, smiling. "Everyone deserves a warm cup of coffee on a cold day." He thanked her, looking as if he wanted to say more, but words failed him. Instead, he nodded with quiet gratitude and took his seat by the window. Emma didn't think much of it. She grabbed her latte, waved goodbye to the barista, and rushed off toward her next job. But that small act to the price of a single coffee had just changed everything. Unbeknownst to Emma, the man she had helped wasn't homeless, nor was he poor. His name was James Hollingsworth, and he was one of the wealthiest men in America. A self-made billionaire in shipping, real estate, and biotech, James had spent the past 6 months incognito, traveling across the country in search of something money couldn't buy: a soul to trust. An heir, not just someone to pass his fortune to, but someone who understood humility, compassion, and resilience. His lawyers had drafted wills. His advisors had pitched plans. But none of them gave him peace. James had grown up in poverty and clawed his way to the top. He wanted his legacy to go to someone who remembered what it was like to have nothing. And then there was Emma. Her act wasn't grand. She hadn't donated to a cause or saved a life. But she had chosen kindness without expecting anything in return. She'd given, even when she had little. And for James, that meant everything. The next morning, he returned to the coffee shop. Emma wasn't there. He asked the barista, who explained she worked early mornings at a local animal shelter and evenings at the bookstore on 9th and Lexington. So James went to the bookstore. There she was, stacking hardcovers, smiling as she chatted with an elderly customer about poetry. He watched her for a moment, then left without a word. Over the next week, he returned to the store several times, always blending in among the other customers. He watched Emma's genuine interactions, her patience, her laughter. And he saw the exhaustion behind her eyes, the way she sometimes winced as she checked her phone, the way she hid stress behind a smile. He learned her name from her name tag. He learned her schedule. He learned that she never complained. On Friday evening, as the sky turned orange and the bookstore prepared to close, James approached her. "Ma, right?" he asked. She looked up, surprised. "Yes, you paid for my coffee earlier this week." "I never properly thanked you," she smiled, brushing it off. "Oh, that? It's no big deal." "It was, actually," he said. "To me, it was everything." Confused, Emma tilted her head. "I don't understand." "May I take a few minutes of your time? I'd like to share a story with you." Intrigued and a little amused, she nodded and gestured to a small reading nook. They sat. James began to talk. He told her everything at his humble beginnings in Kansas, how he built a billion-dollar empire, how he lost his wife 10 years ago, and how he never had children. He shared his loneliness, his fear of leaving behind a legacy built on money instead of meaning. And finally, he told her about his journey of dressing down, living simply, and searching the country for someone whose heart matched the values he held dear. "I've met scholars, leaders, activists," he said. "But none of them moved me like you did. You didn't know me. You didn't expect anything. Yet, in that moment, you showed more compassion than most people do in a lifetime." Emma blinked, stunned. "Yeah, broken bar, I don't know what to say. I'm not looking for a thank you. I'm offering something. A chance. An opportunity. Come work with me. Learn from me. Help manage the philanthropic branch of my estate. Help make sure this fortune goes to the right causes, the right people. If, after a year, you want to leave, you're free to go with a substantial trust fund and no strings attached." Emma's mouth went dry. Was this real? Was this some elaborate prank? But his eyes were sincere. His voice steady. And something deep inside her knew this was genuine. "I need to think," she whispered. "Of course. Take all the time you need. Here's my card. Call me whenever you're ready." He stood and walked away. For 3 days, Emma didn't sleep. She thought about her life, the struggle, the loneliness, the small joys, and the bigger fears. She thought about the animals she cared for, the books she loved, and the rent she could barely pay. And she thought about purpose. On the 4th morning, she called. "I'm in," she said. "Not for the money. Not for the title. But if there's a chance to do good on a bigger scale, I want to be part of that." A month later, Emma moved into a guest house on James's sprawling estate outside Vermont. She studied under legal experts, met with advisors, and began planning outreach programs for youth, animal welfare, and education. She traveled. She spoke at events. She organized donation drives. She helped turn James's quiet wealth into a living force of change. And through it all, she never forgot who she was, a girl who paid for a stranger's coffee because it was the right thing to do. A year later, James called a press conference. With reporters gathered and cameras flashing, he stood beside Emma and announced something that shocked the world. "This is Emma," he said. "My heir, not of blood, but of heart. She is now co-chair of my foundation and will inherit the bulk of my estate upon my passing." The internet exploded. Headlines called her the coffee shop heiress. Tabloids speculated. Influencers debated, but Emma remained the same. Grounded. Kind. Focused. She never forgot the shelter. She built 3 more. She never forgot the bookstore. She donated thousands of books. And she never stopped buying strangers' coffee. Because in the end, the lesson was simple. You never know who you're helping. You never know how far a small act of kindness will ripple. And sometimes, life is waiting to reward you, and not for what you have, but for who you are when no one's watching. Thank you for watching this powerful story here on Flekar and Inspire. If it touched your heart, don't forget to share it with someone who believes in kindness. Until next time, keep inspiring and keep believing that even the smallest actions can lead to the greatest changes.